Lady Fortunato's ill fortune. I am a woman of high esteem and intellect. You know this, Lady Fortunato said to her butler Giovanni. You know that I would not imagine these things. Something terrible has fallen to my husband. I dare say he was murdered. It all started on the night of Carnival. A night to surrender one's dread and woes for wine and merriment. Lady Fortunato had selected her finest dress of white and gold colors made with the finest silk from the Orient and a swan mask to accompany it. Perfumes from the Ottoman Empire and heels finely crafted from the Russian Empire. She sat in the great hall of their estate and admired out the elements of old Roman architecture and modern Italian combined, the old and the new. Alas, if only Lord Fortunato was here to share in preparation. That fool had left hours early for no discernible reason. No doubt to make merry with his colleagues, but it doesn't make the lady feel any different. Attachment was ugly, and she knew deep down that her husband wouldn't dare to engage in ill activities that would bring their family shame. He liked his wine, sure, but Lady Fortunato prayed that no ill will was brought to him on this auspicious night. She called to the servant girls to remain at the estate, to watch over it. The old butler Giovanni accompanied her like a loyal knight. The war dog served in an old mercenary company and retired well. Giovanni had worked at her family's estate for years, and she didn't know anyone she could place her trust more than him. He knew how to handle a sword and a broom. He never spoke much, but he served as both a great bodyguard and personal servant. Wherever Lady Fortunato went, he was her shadow. At this thought, she was amused. She had spent more time with Giovanni than her own husband. Their relationship was something akin to a father-daughter one, although Giovanni would never confess to such a thing. He was too humble to admit it. That amusement turned sour. A noble couple with no children. This must be rectified soon, when Lord Fortunato returned from his wine-induced adventures. If this behavior continued, it would bring shame to her and the legacy she and Fortunato built. Giovanni, said Lady Fortunato, is everything in order? Shall we leave? Yes, my lady, he replied, his rapier at his side, and he stood with the posture of a lion. A swan mask, my lady, he said. Indeed, I think it best complements the colors of the dress, don't you think? He smiled and said, Indeed. Let us go. Giovanni opened the door, and the two went toward the bustling evening streets of Genoa. The city of Genoa was alive, and in her streets were thousands of drunks and gentlemen, whores and ladies. She could not discern one from the other, and that was the beauty of Carnival, to let go of one's standing and be united with the people in celebration. Lady Fortunato had reunited with her friends. They had agreed to meet outside a flower shop owned by one of her friends, and planned what outfits and masks to wear the week before. Women of higher standing, some married, others awaiting marriage. They were wearing a slew of beautiful masks and dresses. Most, she noted with disappointment, were accompanied by husbands in matching masks. Lady Fortunato, one of her friends called out, Where is your husband? She hesitated, but flashed a smile from beneath the feathers of her mask. Oh, you know him, Ada. He always wants Carnival to be business and pleasure. He spotted his colleagues from the window and hurried off, Lady Fortunato replied. Let us hope God keeps them safe on this joyous night, one of the gentlemen cried out. Cheers and agreement followed, and yet Lady Fortunato felt ill. The night went on. Circus performers, jugglers, acrobats filled every block, and the shouts and laughter remained constant. Amidst it all, Lady Fortunato felt only sorrow and sickness. Something felt wrong. She had not seen Lord Fortunato all night. She had encountered a group of his colleagues, but they could not tell her where he had gone. Damn those drunkards, she thought. Of course they wouldn't know. My lady, Giovanni said, perhaps it is best if we return to the estate. You appear pale. We should get you to bed. I'm afraid we'll need to gather a search party for his lordship when we arrive at the estate. You're right, she said. Let us be off. The cheers and banter of the streets began to quieten as the pair make their way toward the residential noble district of Genoa. Lady Fortunato had taken off her mask and felt weary and fatigued. Along the way, Lady Fortunato spotted a well-dressed man. Dark gray and black dominated his figure, and he was wearing a raven mask. As the man approached, Giovanni stepped in. It became a habit for the old dog to do this, but Lady Fortunato slowly pushed him back with a gentle hand to his arm to signal that she meant to speak to this raven-masked man. A fine night at Carnival, wouldn't you say? The raven-masked man said. There was a pause before Lady Fortunato said, Indeed, it has been fine. How has this night treated you, good sir? Graciously, he said. Lady Fortunato, is that you? She and Giovanni exchanged looks. Yes, it is me, she said. I'm curious to know how you knew, for I do not recognize you. You do not, he said. A chuckle followed, and it sent shivers down Lady Fortunato's neck. It was unsettling. The voice was almost recognizable, and she cursed herself for not knowing who he was. Was it the alcohol? Was it the stress? Oh, but of course you don't, the Raven Masked Man continued. I am but a humble gentleman from an esteemed family, on his way to finish his celebrations of Carnival. Have we met before? Lady Fortunato fondly said. It would be rude of me to have forgotten. We did, he said. I was one of many to seek after your hand in marriage, but you had chosen to wed a fool and a drunkard, men who would provide little in the way of love or finance. Here I am, a man of high class and respect, on his way to enjoy Carnival, while you and your manservant strut by in pity. But it matters not. You had chosen a different path, and I, the same. Now please, excuse me. Who is he to talk like this? What right does he have to belittle me like this? How is this my fault? She thought. It took Lady Fortunato a good inspection. After the Raven Masked Man had finished to see, Giovanni placed his left hand on the hilt of his blade. As the masked man walked by the two toward the bustling streets of the city proper, Lady Fortunato cried out, What of Lord Fortunato? Surely you had seen him sometime this night. The night grew colder, and Lady Fortunato felt as if she could collapse any second. There was a pause. The man had stopped in his tracks. He did not turn around. I am afraid Lord Fortunato was not seen this night, he said. Let us pray God did not place ill fortune upon him. The Raven Masked Man walked away, and Lady Fortunato was left with nothing but shock and sadness. Her knees were shaking, and she quickly fell soon after. Giovanni's quick reflexes caught her in time. There was no word of Lord Fortunato that night or the nights to come.